Most people will associate oysters with food, but the lesser known fact is that oysters, like corals, create reefs. It's one of the only marine habitats that is indeed edible. An oyster reef is basically millions of oysters come together. So imagine you have an oyster, and then baby oysters come on its shell to grow more oysters, and then eventually the original oyster dies, but the shell is stuck together. It's one big reef system, and it continues to have more babies, and it builds, it continues to build. So it's a living structure made of dead oyster and dead shell, and baby oysters that continue to settle on this reef. Around the world, we have decimated the majority of them. The average globally is 85%. It makes it the most endangered marine habitat we have on Earth, and Hong Kong is no exception.
So on top of the reef that we have constructed, we're going to boost it with some live oysters that we have sourced from the traditional oyster farmers in Deep Bay, in Lao Fao Shan. Today we're going back to the airport reef to seed it with extra oysters.
So the way that we reintroduce this habitat is by recreating a hard structure, ideally of limestone or of rock that is high in calcium carbonate, which is what oyster shell is made of. And then we put a layer of recycled shell. Because of its shape and because the way that it is actually, its own design is perfect for oyster reef restoration. And that becomes a reef base that is suitable to grow oysters. In certain cases, there's still enough oyster larvae from other sources, particularly in the Pearl River Delta, that all you need to do is put the hard structure, and the oyster larvae is already in the system. The worst case scenario is that there's no larvae left. So you have to not only reintroduce the reef, you have to reintroduce the oyster as well. In certain areas that are more challenging, we will also put live oysters on top of that reef in the hope that these oysters will create babies and then the babies will settle. We're hoping that this year the Hong Kong government is revising its biodiversity policy, the Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, which essentially is our city's biodiversity policy. It's what it's going to be doing for the next 10 years to recover and support our biodiversity. And we're hoping to see much more emphasis on restoration.